Hey, good morning, Gigi. Thanks for stepping on. Steve, here we go. Samantha, good morning. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. We're looking forward to this opportunity to talk with Adam Frisch this morning, so bear with us as we get things going. All right, Kelly, I've got you sent over there. Good morning, Adam. Here comes the speaker request. We're going to get started right at 10 o'clock here, so bear with us. All right, welcome to Coffee with Democrats. Boy, this is going to be an exciting day today. We're really looking forward to this. This is such a wonderful time for us to be able to reach out to Democrat candidates and people that are like-minded to the rest of us. So we're really looking forward to today. Today we have a special guest, Adam Frisch. Adam ran for Colorado House of Representatives CO-03. He did an outstanding job in 2022, and we're looking forward to his run for 2024, and we want to do everything we can to help him in his campaign. So welcome, everybody, for being on. A little bit of housekeeping that we need to talk just a little bit about. If you are on here, please go to your, at the top of your Coffee with Democrats Twitter space, go up there to that up arrow and share that you're on this space so that we can get as many people on here and get as much excitement about Adam's campaign as we possibly can. And let's share it with as many people that we have such an important opportunity and an important guest to talk with. So again, please share. Another piece of housekeeping for today's Twitter space, because we are going to be constrained on time limits, we're not going to be able to take a lot of question and answers from the general public. If you have a question, please submit your question down in the below in the comment section, and we'll be glad to try to get to as many of those as we can. But it may be kind of difficult for us to get to all of them. So please bear with us and please be patient. We really value you as listeners and friends that are on Twitter with us, and we look forward to be able to answer those questions. And maybe one of the media specialists for Adam, if we can't get to all the questions, we can talk to Nicole, which is working with Adam's campaign, and see if they will also answer those questions later on. But again, thank you, everybody, for being on here today with Coffee with Democrats, and we are really excited to have Adam Frisch on here with us this morning. So, Adam, are you there?
I am. Good morning. Honored to be here.
Man, it's really an honor and a privilege for us to have you. And it's such an exciting time to be a Democrat. And I know that this last campaign may not have went exactly the way you wanted to, but man, it seems like you've got the momentum going, and we're really excited about your run for 2024. So do you mind if I ask you a few questions about your just background about Adam Frisch? I like to always ask my guests a little biography. So who is Adam Frisch? Where were you born? Were you raised? And what brought you up to this point? What is your other political successes that you've had in the past and things like that?
Well, good morning, everyone. Great to be here from snowy Colorado. I was actually born on an Indian reservation in northeastern Montana, Fort Peck Indian Reservation. Both my parents, who are from northern Minnesota, ended up moving out to the North Dakota, Montana, Canada border. My dad was in the public health service. My mom helped out in some rural education initiatives. He ended up coming back. We all came back to Minnesota when I was 5 in 1972. And it's kind of right when some things kicked off in a special aspect of women's health care. He became an OBGYN for about 45 years, actually. And in his retirement time, which he's still actively retired, he worked for Planned Parenthood, actually being the medical director for some period of time for Planned Parenthood of Arizona. So that issue of women's healthcare freedom has been something that's been really important to our family. My youngest of 3 sisters is an OBGYN back in Minneapolis. Grew up in Minneapolis. My misspent youth was on the ski slopes. They were small but mighty, and ended up out at the University of Colorado and Boulder. I was originally going to ski race, ended up getting hurt a little bit, and so kind of had an early retirement on that side. But love Boulder for obvious reasons. Moved out to New York City on a bit of a whim with a buddy of mine. We started off waiting tables and fell into working on one of the first socially responsible investing funds for a couple of years, and ended up working in the global currency markets, traveling the world in Asia and Africa, the Middle East, Latin America. Sadly, went through a lot of 9/11 funerals, and that's kind of when I had a reset. Came out back to the mountains of Colorado, met the proverbial girl, Katie, who's now my wife of almost 20 years. We grew up. She grew up ski racing as well from upstate New York. And then I got into some home building and construction, but getting into, I'm not sure, people call it politics. I call it elected community service. I spent 8 years on my city council here in Colorado after doing that, mostly working on affordable housing and supporting the small business community. After that, I got off in the summer of 2019. My wife ended up running and getting elected to our local school board. We're both big proponents of the public school system. We both believe that kids need to be in school, especially those families that are most challenged. That really played out during COVID when I got my substitute teaching license, and I was a part-time substitute teacher for pre-K 4. And I focused on pre-K 4 because as the proud father of a couple of teenagers, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, it's kind of still nice to spend time with kids that still want to hold your hand. So
Right.
did that for a while, and then Representative Bobart made some comments a year and a half ago that I can't remember exactly what they were, but let's just say that they were on brand. And that's what started getting me thinking. And you look at, sadly, all these other loudmouth Republicans and Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Paul Gosar, the Queen, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they all had 20 to 30% wins in their general election in 2020. And I saw that Bobart was only at 51% and didn't win her home county. And there's only a handful of people in Congress that were not able to win their home county. You know, those that know her the best don't care for her. And a lot more people knew her now than before, and not for good reason. So I thought that, we had to build a coalition. Our district is only 24% Democrat and about 32% Republican, and the rest are independent. So I am a proud moderate Democrat, which doesn't float every single person's vote, but that's what's needed out here in Western and Southern Colorado. And I thought that we could build a pro-normal party coalition to stop that angertainment industry aspect that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert excel at so much. And there, as you pointed out, there's a lot of skepticism from the Democrats, from the Republicans, from the donor class, from the political class, just from voters. But I just knew in my heart that while there might be a lot of crazy people out there, there aren't that many crazy people. And I thought that just, an authentic, sincere person that was willing to put 24,000 miles on their pickup truck, traveling the district, could build a coalition. And we obviously had the closest race in the country. We surprised the heck out of a lot of different people, those that supported us and those that didn't. And so we thought that after a couple months off, we would get back into the game, and here we are. So thank you.
If you have I want to ask you just a couple of questions, and I want to play your "I'm running" ad that you put out. So, first of all, Colorado Buffaloes. That is quite a school. It's a wonderful school, like you said, right there in Boulder. It's great, and if I'm not mistaken, that was an old Big 8 school, something that was a challenger for my Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, no, it was the original Big 8, and I know I grew up watching those Nebraska Oklahoma games on Thanksgiving in the 70s and 80s, and Colorado worked their way in there. Now the whole college football conference thing has been shuffled all over the place. I was a Big Ten follower from the Gophers in Minnesota, but I'm a proud Buff, and the year after I graduated, we won the national championship. But there's been a lot of movement in college football over the past 20 years, that's for sure.
Right. And then you didn't mention where you were the city council member at. Do you mind if we ask you where you were the city council member?
Yeah, I was on the Aspen City Council here. It's a town of 7,000 people. It's a little quirky. Obviously a lot of people know it is kind of a fancy resort ski town, but underneath some of that veneer is just a lot of really good people, and with a lot of really good policies. Aspen's been working on affordable housing since literally 1974.
Right.
And understanding that it is going to affect traffic patterns and livability. And as obviously, especially through COVID, you're seeing even in some very moderate to even some pretty poor counties and towns, affordable housing has kind of unfortunately spread as a huge issue, and trying to make sure that people have, I can't call it sustainable housing, to make sure that people can find a place to live either through ownership or rent, and making sure that they have stability, because if you don't have stable housing, it's really, really hard to have a stable life.
Right. Yeah, we totally agree. I mean, this is throughout the United States, we're seeing issues with homeless people, people not being able to afford homes, and working poor. Those seem to be some of the top issues, along with healthcare, women's rights, and things like that. So let me go ahead and play this is the long version, this 2-minute and 30-second version of I'm Running. If you want to stop me during the middle of it, go ahead. But let's let our listeners have an opportunity, because this is a great advertisement for you, and it really supports nationally how Adam Frisch came to be such a national person. So here we go.
Colorado's 3rd district. It's hard to get more even than that between Adam Frisch, the Democrat, and Lauren Boebert, the Republican. He's overperforming the Biden number substantially across the district.
Steve just surprised us with that news about Lauren Boebert in her home district. Man, Adam Frisch has my award right now for the surprise conversation we're having tonight.
Washington didn't give Adam a chance before the election. Adam drove over 24,000 miles, met thousands of voters. They saw what I knew. Adam is the kind of honest, principled leader the 3rd district needs. But ultimately, we lacked the resources and lost in a recount by 546 votes. It was the closest congressional race in the country. Adam understands rural Colorado. His family were cattlemen and still run a feed store. His dad was a doctor on an Indian reservation, but Adam loved the mountains and went to CU, where he earned a business degree.
We both have a business background, mine in international finance, working in more than 50 countries. But it was our love for the outdoors that convinced us to raise our family here in Colorado.
He's a good listener, a great husband, and a loving dad. We're both involved in our community. I serve on the school board. Adam was elected to city council, where he brought people together to build more affordable housing, provide childcare for working people, and help local businesses succeed.
Lauren Boebert is everything that's wrong with Congress. She's an election denier that encouraged the attack on the Capitol and wants to make all abortions illegal, even for rape and incest. She's part of the angertainment circus that's tearing our country apart. All work across party lines to bring people together and get things done. I'll put Colorado first. Colorado energy, Colorado water, and Colorado jobs.
Right. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Lauren Boebert. Boebert is the only one of the crazies in Congress that can be beaten.
We only need to change one vote in every precinct to defeat her.
Adam was so close in 22. He'll beat her in 24.
Go to adamforcolorado.com right now. Sign up, donate, join our campaign to defeat Lauren Boebert.
Wow, what an amazing uh, uh, advertisement for Adam Frisch. This is such an exciting commercial. It gets to the issues, and boy, does it raise red flags for everybody and raises a lot of topics and issues to talk about. You know, Lauren Boebert with her entertainment issues with, I mean, you just go down the line. You've nailed this one with this ad. I want to congratulate you for putting out such a wonderful, and again, it speaks to the heart and it speaks from the heart. So thank you very much.
No, I appreciate that. You know, one of the things I realized, you know, there's a lot of hard things about running for Congress, especially in a district that's literally half the size of the geography of Colorado, where our district is 10 hours to drive from tip to tail. It's bigger than the state of Mississippi and bigger than about 19 or 20 other states out there. And it's obviously, there's some good things and bad things about running against someone like Lauren Boebert, but the easy thing for me is just what I believed in the husband and the dad and the little city council person is exactly what I shared to the Democratic primary voters and exactly what I shared consistently with the general population out there. And it was about people wanting the circus to stop and they want someone to focus on their district, not themselves. And that resonates with a lot of people. And, you know, the little advice I can give, which is I say free advice is worth what you pay for it, especially for me, but voters more and more understand sincerity and authenticity. And having that, and I certainly have my foibles, but I try to be authentic and sincere my whole life. And I think that comes out well. And that's how we were able to build a good part of this coalition. And we wanted that to come out in our ads as well. And we've done a really good job with that. And I have to thank Carl Struble and the entire communications team for that.
Yeah, and the thing that came across is, as my daughter, she's texting me as we're speaking right now. She said, "You made it clear that people are not a number. That you know, it's about individuals and about the sincerity of being a citizen within the state of Colorado." Um, as somebody who enjoys Colorado immensely, I've spent a lot of time in Glenwood Springs. I've been to and from Aspen, never spent much time in Aspen, but Durango, some of our favorite places. And I will say this, when we went in 2020, the Trump signs and all the flags and all that stuff on the Western Slope were so disheartening. And for me, it was just, you know, I could feel my blood pressure going up and up, just thinking, what are these people thinking about? And then coming back this last summer and seeing virtually no Trump signs and seeing Adam Frisch signs all over the place. That was so refreshing. It felt so good. I think there was only 2 places where I went to that I seen a Lauren Boebert sign in the whole time that I was in Colorado. So you ran an excellent campaign, and we loved seeing what you did, and we're looking forward to greater things from you in the future. But let's talk just a little bit about, you know, Adam Frisch. You ran on a lot of issues. You ran on a lot of things. But let's talk about your actual race itself, and where do you think you know, if you want to talk about what you did in the past, that's great. I'd rather look at the future as far as where you're going to go with the race and maybe how. And again, I don't want to give anything away to our opponent, but at the same time, I want you to be able to talk about some of the opportunities that you see for your race coming up.
Yeah, thank you. There's no secrets. I mean, I think, you know, what I wrote down a year and a half ago on a 2-page little summary of how it could possibly happen and how to do it. And my wife, Katie, the school board member, worked on it as well. And, you know, I have a 15-year-old daughter that was involved in editing and grammar. She's a leader in the local newspaper here, as well as my son, Felix, 17 years old. He took a year off of his high school as a junior, did classes online in the evening because he became a full-time worker on the campaign and ran our field director. And as a great suggestion out there for others, he actually found 130 college kids across the country, and they made 700,000 phone calls for our campaign during this whole thing. So there's, you know, it's not easy when you're running in an R10 district, if you will. You know, we should be losing 45-55, but you know, half of the we did well is that we were able to effectively focus on what is frustrating with Representative Bobart, and we don't spend any time on the personal foibles. We hammered her that she wasn't focused on the district, and she voted against firefighters, she voted against veterans, she voted against farmers and ranchers a lot of the time, and had a lot of pro-Putin votes going back to the start of the Ukraine war. And so we were focused on that, but it's a rural America conversation, and sadly, the Democratic Party has just lost touch with rural America over the last 25 years generation. And while I'm laser focused on the issues that affect the people and families and businesses in Western and Southern Colorado, I am spending some period of time just at a broader audience, making sure that people understand about how disconnected we've come as a party. And it's probably less about the issues and more about, I know people joke about messaging, but there are a couple sentences over the decades about people clinging to the guns and religion and calling people basket of deplorables. All that stuff really set in and has made it really an uphill battle for a lot of us that are in the rural parts of the country to kind of connect with a lot of people. Bill Clinton won more than half of the 2,000 rural counties in the country. So Bill Clinton won again more than half of the rural counties in the country. There's about 2,000 rural counties out of 3,100. And then Barack Obama only won 25% of those rural counties in 2012. And then sadly, President Biden, with due respect, won fewer than 10% of the rural counties in 2020. And that's a really glaring statistic. And I've been trying to, I think about that literally every waking hour about how to make sure to connect. And it, as you mentioned before, it's about showing up. And my son and I hopped into the red pickup truck and we drove 24,000 miles, literally 24,000 miles between the primary and the general, just getting in front of every community in town that we could. Our biggest towns are 100,000 people. The fourth largest city is probably 15,000 people. And we have tons of communities that have fewer than 1,000 people in them. And we didn't hit every single one, but Felix and I definitely hit, over 150 to 200 communities in all of our driving.
And one of the things that, so I'm going to pivot just a little bit. We are trying to copy what you did. If that's such a thing, I hope you don't have a copyright on, on what you did, because in Oklahoma, we feel the same pain that what you're talking about, where rural Oklahoma is shifting the election cycles. And in Arkansas, our sister organization, Coffee with Democrats Arkansas, working with the Rural Caucus of Arkansas, has a very good plan in Arkansas, and we're going to try to emulate what they're doing in Arkansas, what you're doing in Colorado, and we're going to try to do the same thing in building and connecting the blue dots within Oklahoma to try to build some momentum. And one of the things that we want to try to do, and I'm again, this is from your playbook, we're talking about trying to keep things, talk about the facts. Don't ignore the facts, but at the same time, don't try to scare people into doing things. Be optimistic about who you are and be genuine about who you are in your candidacy. And that's one of the things we've really enjoyed what you did, and the way that I started following you about a year ago and following your campaign, and the positivity that you really expressed was contagious. It was something that I wanted to try to emulate, and it's taken a long time to try to get things off the ground, but I think we've got some really good allies within the Democratic Party here in Oklahoma that we're going to resource with. The Rural Caucus of Arkansas is resourcing the same way, trying to keep the positivity going. And but it's you've got such a wonderful campaign that we were really looking forward to. Again, that rural aspect of what you're dealing with. You're not in the Denver area. You're on the western slope. Again, it's very rural, pretty much like what most of Oklahoma and what most of Arkansas are. And so where do you plan on spending most of your time in rural? Is it Grand Junction? Is it Rifle? And when you did go to Lauren Boebert's home county in her city, what was the response from the citizens there toward you whenever you were there campaigning?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things out there. There's definitely some lessons that I think some people can learn from us, as I've learned from people like Tom Daschle in South Dakota and John Tester in Montana, and as well as Manchin in West Virginia, which I appreciate. He's not everyone's favorite Democrat, but he's in a district that voted Trump 35-40% plus, and so there's lessons to be learned. And it's a continuation of the vast majority of people don't wake up every day thinking Team Red and Team Blue. It's to me, it's like 80% of us are on Team America and 20% are on Team Extremism, and I'm on Team America, and I'm here to focus on the daily needs of citizens across the district. I don't care how people voted in 2016 or how they voted in 2020. I just said, think really hard about you and your family and your farm and your business and your community. Who do you want representing you realistically as you sit as that representative truly represents everybody, sitting down in the halls of Congress, trying to work on legislation that's going to help everybody. Republicans need better rural health care as well. Republicans' children also need better access to rural education funding. We have water is our number one thing out here in the Western Slope and in Southern Colorado, and the water is not running red or blue. And so that's the conversation that I think people really want to hear about. They want less of this infighting between Team Red and Team Blue. Not only does it not work in a district that's 24% blue, it's just not where a lot of people are, and that's kind of not where I am. And so those are some lessons that I think can be learned. We will continue to just drive a lot of different places. Pueblo and Grand Junction are our two largest cities. They're communities. They're 100,000 people each. They're about 5 hours apart, and so we have like minimally we have a 950-mile loop that we do, but that can be extended to 3,000 miles in a loop, which is literally from LA to New York, driving one way in our district, depending on how many offshoots we do to make sure we hit every little community that's really, really important. So, and Garfield County is where Lauren Boebert's been living. She moved up there a while back from Denver. She's actually from Florida. And so, again, those that know her most don't care for her. She lost her county. There's a huge undercount in the Republican ballots. We know that for a fact, looking at the data, is that a tremendous amount of people just can't stomach, who are normally Republicans or moderate right-leaning independents. They left it blank on the ballot, and we earned some of those left blank, and some of those came over to us. Again, we got 49.8% of the vote in a district that's only 24% Democrat. So literally and figuratively, more than half of our ballots came from non-registered Democrats. And again, it's easy for me to go after that because that's just who I am. And again, a lot of the policies in rural America are not just these biting social things that people are fighting over, or the media tries to tell people that they're fighting over. It goes back to the true kitchen table. It might be a cliche, but it's truly what the vast majority of people that I spent time talking to around the district, which is what's on your mind. And it's not the 5 or 6 things that are being screamed at, yelled at Fox News or other news outlets, even on the far left. It goes back to safe schools, a good job, making sure that water is there for our ranchers, our farmers, our conservationists, our recreation, and people want the circus to stop. And that's how we were able to do so well.
Right. It goes to the fundamentals. One thing that I'm proud to say, you don't have to fight in Colorado. The fight that we're having in Oklahoma and Arkansas is the abortion issue and women's reproductive rights. But again, it may be a fight if future things that we can't, that we don't foresee take place, but it's always a threat. And with the candidates like Lauren Boebert who are out there, they're coming for reproductive rights of women. And that's one thing that I think in these other rural states besides Colorado might be something that we're going to be looking for and how to handle that. And with that in mind, do you have some issues that you can relate to where people have asked you on the campaign trail about abortion and how you've handled some of those questions about abortion?
Yeah, a couple things on that. One, as I mentioned before, my family's had like a multi-generational interest in making sure that there's healthcare freedom for women, including abortion services. And so that's an easy thing for me to just stay tried and true as I do about everything else, but especially there. Two, the conservatives, if you will, of Western Colorado are a lot more like what happened in Kansas than they probably are down in the deep south of Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas. We have much more of a libertarian streak in the Western Slope in Southern Colorado. And, we have super high Second Amendment support, but we also have super high pro-choice support. And it all goes back to the common thread of just people want to be left alone and they don't like a lot of government intrusion. I call it's a little bit like the UBU party, like, so whether it's gay rights or whether it's abortion or whether it's Second Amendment, it's really just the less government, the better. It's been interesting. I met some self-described Christian evangelicals along the campaign trail. And as much as they prefer that there's a lot fewer abortions, as I believe we all do, she made it very clear that as bad as that issue is in her mind, what's worse is the government involvement in how a family wants to grow or not, and how they want to live their lives. And that overall libertarian streak works well for Colorado. Colorado, before Roe v. Wade in 1972, Colorado was one of the only other states besides New York that actually had legalized abortion under some circumstances before the Supreme Court got in their role. So Colorado's always had a long streak of this women's healthcare freedom. And I think how the supporters of abortion rights and women's healthcare freedom ran that campaign last summer in Kansas. I think a lot of people were hoping they were going to win by 2 or 3 points, and they ended up winning by 18. Sent a huge message to a lot of different people. All of a sudden, a lot of Republicans got very scared about trying to bring that up because they understand that outside of the loudmouths, the vast majority of people want that conversation to be between the patient and the doctor, and they don't want government legislation, in that doctor's room as well for he or she, the physician. And so that's how it works out here. That's a different, that's a story that I would suggest could work in Kansas and Wyoming and Utah. It's a different conversation in Alabama and Mississippi and Arkansas, as I assume. But again, I think this freedom aspect works very, very well where I am. And that when it did come up, that's how we addressed it.
Very good. We've got so there's two of us who co-founded Coffee with Democrats. Myself here in Norman, Oklahoma, and Steve Holcomb out of Pawhuska. And Steve's got a question for you.
Well, good morning, Adam. Good morning.
Good morning.
First thing I want to say is I want to find some way to get you and your wife and your kids cloned to come down here and run in the congressional district number 3 in Oklahoma. I'm so impressed with your vision and also just I sense the strong organization efforts that you've put together, and you've just pounded the pavement, so to speak, and the ground throughout an extremely large district in Colorado, the largest. And I live in a small town. I'm a small town lawyer, town of 3,500, Pawhuska. We're in congressional district number 3, and that's the largest congressional district, and I would say the most rural district in Oklahoma, which actually it just touches the very southeast corner of your district, because our CD3 runs all the way out to the Panhandle.
Okay.
So
yes.
Would love to have someone of your character and your understanding for rural issues, running here in Oklahoma. I think you're a wonderful model. It's one of the reasons why we're very excited to have you come on here this morning. I wanted to ask, and we talked about abortion, but I wanted to talk about gun rights for just a second and ask you for your reflections, because a lot of the angertainment of Boebert revolves around this imagery of, the pistol on her hip, or the pistol, in the crotch of her blue jeans, or whatever. And yet, interestingly, Colorado has a red flag law. And I was curious how that had been playing out, and whether law enforcement in your district, or even just throughout Colorado, the state where, of course, Columbine happened back in 1999, whether that was an issue that you you see as a positive for you in dealing with, the sheriffs throughout your district, with law enforcement? Are they having success using this law? Is it something, is the dynamic there that you see a great benefit for you, even in terms of funding that might come from the NRA in this 2024 race, those kind of things? So it's not really a question, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there to ask you if you could just kind of speak to that issue, and particularly in regard to, with your wife on the school board, in regard to the safety of y'all's schools.
Yeah, so, thanks. Again, the issues, the top 4 or 5 issues that we focused on that remained as such that worked very well for us. And I think, and it's what I was hearing was water's number one, the rural aspects of education, the rural aspects of healthcare, some of the national things about inflation and some of those other issues. So actually, as much as we have a very high Second Amendment support in CD3, and as much as a lot of her identity and especially that angertainment aspect of it is really tied up and her pistol on her hip or thigh, even, a lot of people don't talk about it. The ranchers and farmers I was talking to, they wanted to know more about water. The vast majority, a lot of people in our district own guns. They do it responsibly. Colorado has a lot of solid rules. One of the questions I did ask when it would come up, or I'd proactively ask about Second Amendment, was, do you feel that Colorado supports your gun freedom? And like 99.8% of the people, even those in Second Amendment camouflage hats and proud hunters and farmers, said yes. And so Colorado, I think, has figured out a pretty good way of having some very just mainstream, sensible rules about storage and red flag laws that on a daily basis work very well for the men and women of CD3, even the ones that are really, really conservative. And again, like so many other things in politics, the conversation at the Twitter level or at the loud sides of the Fox News is not how the vast majority of people are living their lives. And the vast majority of, everyone in CD3, I have true belief that they know how to store their guns and use them well and take the classes they need and use them properly. And so the issues that we face in Western Colorado and Southern Colorado are not the same issues that are going down in the tragedies of our urban centers down in Denver as well. And so people don't really ask about it because I think everybody knows their guns aren't going to be taken away and they want to focus on other issues. And if people want to focus on other issues, I want to focus on issues that matter to them. We've had a sad history in Colorado over the years on guns. We just had a scare here in our part of the state, as well as 15 or 20 other districts, about these horrible hoaxes that are coming in. People called in about 12 days ago to say that there were some active shooters. And I think it happened in a couple of different states. And it's just sad where we are because obviously the school safety is paramount to everybody. And as someone, whose wife is on the school board, and I did some substitute teaching and, having a couple of young kids, it's really, really imperative to us what happens here. But on the district tours, it doesn't come up very much, again, because people have other issues they want to focus on. But that's kind of Western and Southern Colorado. That might be different in other areas, whether it's an urban or rural conversation.
All right. We've got Kelly McGinnis. She is with Coffee with Democrats in Arkansas. She's got her hand up. We're going to let her ask a couple of questions. She's on our panel, by the way.
Great. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Adam. I watched your election last November very closely, and just thank you so much for running. We were talking about freedoms earlier, and I've been working with the Rural Caucus of Arkansas for the last several months lately, and we are going into rural areas doing exactly what you are doing, having conversations, and these conversations have been eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people. We're able to see what people in rural areas are concerned about in their towns, and it's not these big issues that are dominating the headlines. One thing that we've found that has been very helpful is just informing people about the bills that are coming out recently here in Arkansas and just educating them. It's so hard to keep up with everything that is being thrown at us. And I think that has really helped to open a lot of people's eyes into the government overreach that we're seeing here. How are things there in Colorado? And another question I did have, with you traveling with your son, I love that so much. Are you seeing an uptick in Gen Z voters, and are you going to be utilizing them in the future?
Yeah, so thank you and good morning, and I'll work backwards. We did see a little bit of an uptick, and we're certainly focusing on it. We have 27 counties in our district. It is not only is it big, but there's a lot of moving parts with all different counties. But these 27 county chairs and the executive boards and the boots on the ground, they're really excited to continue to work really hard because of the inspiration we all provided each other, and everyone worked really hard, especially that last month of the campaign. And so we're focused on two aspects of voter registration. One is our Latino community, which is an important part in growing in our district, as well as we have 10 or 11 community colleges and small universities and other regional colleges, as well as a couple nationally known ones. And so we're spending a lot, we're trying to get funding nationally as well as within the state to try to figure out how to get more and more of them registered because as everybody knows, the younger you are, the better probability they're going to be voting with us. And so we are focused on that. And Felix did work on that. And again, finding those 130 college kids across the country that wanted to help us out. There's some hard things running against Representative Boebert. But, when it comes to fundraising a little bit and when it comes to getting help outside the district, she is a little bit of the gift that keeps on giving. And so we'll continue to work on that. As far as what you said before, I think that what the headlines do not match what people are talking about before or after church or what's going on at the local coffee shop or at the VFW or the Elks Lodges. And that's true on both sides. And again, most people love this idea. I'm a big fan of this Problem Solvers Caucus, which is made up in the House of, at least last cycle, it was 29 Democrats and 29 Republicans, and they're working together. They were instrumental in passing the first bipartisan infrastructure bill and the first bipartisan COVID bill. And even the most rabid Republicans and the most rabid Democrats actually do like to hear that there are groups of people working on stuff, what I call it. And for 20 years, I've said if there was a get stuff done party, I'd be in that party. And that get stuff done party is just not doing very well. And so either those that are really, really liberal or really, really conservative, they understand, or most of them understand that compromise and bipartisanship is the only way you get something done. Anyone who understands anything how a bill becomes a law understands that you have to have some type of coalition. Just until there's 60 senators on either side, it's going to be really, really hard. And so speaking to the people on a daily basis when they're not at these rallies or when they're not being interviewed on television, you get the normal, real version of these people. And most of those people, they want the circus to stop and they want someone to focus on their family and their farm and their job and their community. And they want someone to just pay attention. And showing up in person is a huge start, and acknowledging where some of the sadly frustrations of the Democratic brand is. That's a whole nother conversation that I'm happy to have later on in our cycle as we try to wrap up here in a little bit. But the issues that the Democrats are focused on are ones that go across party lines. It is just Fox News is incredibly seductive and incredibly effective in running comments that come from Democrats through the meat grinder, and it spins out to a really bad version. And we just don't have a counter to that that's very, very effective. And the only counter is hopping in a car and driving around and meeting people when you have the time to do it, and start creating those dialogues and just saying, listen, I appreciate there might be some cultural connections, but we hit people over the head with facts. There'd be a picture of Representative Boebert with firefighters, and then, Nicole and the social media team 5 seconds later would just bring up the factual bills where Representative Boebert voted against firefighters or voted against veterans or voted against water infrastructure. And so, we try to, even though this is a very emotional conversation, facts still do matter, and gosh forbid when they don't.
So we understand that you're going to have to take off here in about a minute. And we want to, again, take this opportunity to tell you how much we truly are honored and privileged to have you with us. We wish you the very best. I hope Nicole can stay on just for a couple of minutes because I'd like to ask a couple of questions on how people can donate to your campaign and how people can help your campaign moving forward. So thank you so much for being with us. And again, congratulations on an awesome run this last time. And we're looking forward to an even better run this next time. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for everybody, and God bless our country and our democracy and all the work that's being done. So thanks, everybody. And I assume Nicole can stay on for a little bit, but look forward to
You
checking
bet.
back in with you later on in the cycle.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So, Nicole, can you just go ahead and let's just give you the campaign manager's hat for just a couple minutes. If
Sure.
you want to talk about how people can help your campaign and how the campaign can grow and use people from all over the nation to be able to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, y'all, for joining us and for having Adam on. Honestly, when and as we all heard, when he starts talking about rural issues, that's where he just shines and really knows what it's like to live in rural communities and to listen to folks in rural communities and know what they need. So I really appreciate that being the focus of what y'all are working on, because it's obviously the focus of what we're working on here as well. And it really just, I mean, I think we tweeted the other day, like, Washington has kind of left the rural communities behind, and they're so eager to talk to the 20 biggest urban, areas in this country. And yes, that's where a lot of votes come from, but it's not where a lot of our food comes from. It's not where any of our water comes from. And so, we're the heart of where these things begin. And I actually live in the 3rd district of Colorado as well myself. I think there's a handful of us on the team who live in the district, and it's great to see like-minded folks kind of come together and work so closely with Adam from our district. But yeah, so helping the campaign, always,
Nicole?
we're going to harp on donations are big. Lauren Boebert is funded to the nines by NRA, large corporations, and we're not taking any corporate PAC money. So small, grassroots donations is where our bread and butter comes from. So that's always helpful. And if you go to Adam's Twitter profile, there are, links, if you scroll down a couple times, where you can donate. And then we're going to need volunteers, starting now, but really starting in 2024, make phone calls, do postcard writing. If you're anywhere in the district or want to come visit the district, knock on doors. So just the traditional stuff, but then also between now and then, retweeting Adam, asking Adam questions on social media, engaging with him there is huge too, because it just helps spread the word about what he's trying to accomplish with this campaign.
So let's back up just a little bit because I jumped the gun a little bit.
Okay.
We didn't introduce you.
Okay. Sure.
So tell us who you are and what your relationship is with the campaign for Adam.
You bet. So I actually joined Adam's campaign last cycle during the primary. So I've been a part of the campaign from the beginning. I also, when I go to Adam's house, I ride my bike. That's how close we live to one another. My son was his son's coach and junior golf and things like that. So known Adam a long, long time. And it just so happens that I graduated with my master's in political science right when he was launching his campaign. And I've also built a career in social media management, and we got to talking and decided it was a good fit and haven't looked back. And both of us, I think, have enjoyed the working relationship. So I manage all of Adam's social media channels. I also work with him a little bit on some policy building, just in some of my areas of expertise, which are social justice and international relations. So help him out there a little bit and just kind of try to be, part of the team. We've built an amazing team, and Adam will be the first one to give a lot of the credit to the team that we've built, but we're all very close and really enjoy working with one another. And I'm on for the next couple of years till we can oust Lauren Boebert in 2024.
Absolutely. Our so the person that's on here with us that kind of closely relates to the job that you have is Kelly. So Kelly is our expert, our political expert that we rely on. She does a lot of consulting, political consulting as well. I shouldn't even be speaking for Kelly. I should let her speak for herself. But she is such an awesome individual, and I know that's how much the campaign, the candidate can't run by themselves anymore. They have to have people like yourself who have the ability to, in the connections. It's like you're a centipede with 100 legs going all different directions and arms reaching out to people and pulling people in from all over to help your campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about how that worked for you? This may have been one of your biggest campaigns that you've been involved in.
Well, absolutely. And it a little bit took us by surprise, right? Obviously we knew Lauren Boebert had a name for herself. But really since Adam decided to run, it grew even more so. And so with that came a lot of national exposure that we were, expecting some, not nearly as much as we got. And then, that makes this cycle, the staff that we have is similar more to a Senate campaign, right? For a couple of reasons. Number one, geographically, we are that big. We're bigger, like as Adam mentioned, than 19 states geographically. We're the largest district in the country that's not a single state district, right? So Wyoming geographically is bigger than us. And they only have one congressperson, right? But we're the largest non-single state district. So geographically, we've got a lot of folks needed on the campaign. And then also, just as this gained more national attention, thanks primarily to who Lauren Boebert is, but then because of how close we came in 2022, it really took on another kind of level of largeness as far as how this campaign is needing to be run. So, but that's okay. We're comfortable with how we run and why we run, and we're sticking to our guns. There is no, now that, Rachel Maddow knows Adam Frisch's name, that doesn't matter. We're not changing anything. We are focused on the issues that rural folks in Colorado need us to be focused on, per what Adam was talking about. And it's not these culture wars. It's not these, things that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert would have us believe. It's kitchen table issues. It's jobs, it's water, it's energy. And that's where we're going to stick. So we're comfortable and confident that we can stick to our guns and find 546 votes somewhere in 2024 and get Adam to Washington.
Absolutely. And we want to do everything we can to help and promote that. And you'll see us, we're going to be doing a lot of retweeting of the products that you put out and make sure that people stay on top of Adam's campaign and help with that as well. And I believe that Kelly is going to do the same thing over in Arkansas with Coffee with Democrats Arkansas. So, the coalition that we're trying to build, across the nation and connecting the blue dots to help build us, in our case, in Oklahoma and in Arkansas, in these two states where we're having to crawl out of these holes that have been dug for us, that as Democrats, we just seem like we're just overwhelmed. We're, little red dots in a red sea. So we have have a lot of issues. And I'm glad to see that you don't have to fight some of the issues too, like abortion and education. Education has just destroyed Oklahoma politics, and it's our GOP over here that's just running it right into the ground. And it's not even the GOP as much as it is the people that want to change the political environment into a Christian environment. They want this to be a church state.
Yep.
And it's just so disheartening to see that when we should be separated from that. But, again, we want to thank you. And you kind of stole my thunder, because I was going to talk about Rachel Maddow, and I was going to talk a little bit about Jen Psaki. And those are some, I imagine being Nicole in Little Aspen, Colorado, hearing about Rachel Maddow and Jen Psaki mentioning your candidate's campaign and what you did. That's got to probably really make you feel really good about where you've come from and what you have in front of you.
Election night was something special. There was 6 or 7 of us just around like a dining room table with some TVs pulled up and, streaming it off my iPad basically. And we're going, what is going on? Because we knew we had a chance, obviously, but because of how close it was, it just popped onto everybody's radar and we started going, what is happening? But
right.
At the same time, we were ready we believed Adam and what he stands for and what what Colorado's 3rd district represents, which is a lot of second, third generation immigrants, but also a lot of ranchers and farmers, also some liberal ski towns. We're a big mix of what the country is. And
Sure.
So being able to have conversations with all those folks and never have to have Adam, stray from what he believes in and turn this race into how close it was, we just think is a testament to what we're running on, what folks want to hear from us, and what Adam will be able to do in Washington.
Well, I'll tell you, it's such an honor and a privilege to talk to you and to Adam earlier. We were very grateful for the response, and as a grassroots organization, you never know what you're going to get when you come onto these.
Sure.
And so, we appreciate you immensely, and we wish nothing but the best for the campaign moving forward, and we're looking forward to it. So, if you want to drop off, Nicole, let me just ask if Steve or Kelly or Samantha have any other questions for Nicole.
Sure.
If no hands go up, I guess we're good to go. So,
well, thank you guys so much for having Adam and myself, and we will definitely stay in touch. And I really appreciate to see Democrats and to see folks who have an understanding not just of the culture, social issues, but also of the kitchen table, economic, job issues that really is where Democrats need to focus in these rural areas. It's great to connect with like-minded folks like y'all on that. So really appreciate the connection, and we'll stay in touch. And please give Adam a follow and donate if you can, and retweet if you can, and then volunteer if you can when the time comes.
And in May, whenever I'm going through Colorado, I'll see if I can look you guys up.
Please do. Absolutely. We'll be there.
All right. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it. And best wishes.
Yeah. Have a great day, y'all. Bye-bye.
All right. Coffee with Democrats next week.